Welcome back to the Catalyst Pharmacy Podcast. Today we had Kyle McHugh on with McHugh Pharmacy Group. They're a 15-store group. Kind of going to go through a little bit of their journey from how Kyle and his wife Pam started it with 1 to 2 stores, and then really over I think he said a 21-year journey, basically a 20-year journey of going from 2 to 15, and his thoughts on labor profile in a pharmacy, inventory approach, incentives around what's driving some of employees for retention and things like that too, along with kind of like some little bit of pontification and what's important in the next 6 months and the next 6 years. So we'll take you there now. Appreciate it. From what I have you down as, and you can tell me if it's different, is the president of the McHugh Pharmacy Group. Everyone, this is Kyle McHugh is on with us. 15 locations. Is that right now, or is it more?
Yeah, no, 15 right now. We're looking at some more, but right now 15.
I feel like it's changing every time I talk to you.
It does.
Yeah. So you're one of the few folks we get to have on that's like, actively looking at ways for some pharmacists to find some exit paths. Also, like if everything's right for you, it seems like you're like, oh, cool, let's make the acquisition if we can. So I wanted to just kind of go ahead and get started with that. First, let's get a little bit into like the McHugh Pharmacy Group itself. You tell us kind of like a little bit of how it started. I don't think it started out as like 10 to 15. I think you guys got started out much smaller, and then you've added great people and great pharmacies.
Yeah, so my wife Pam and I started this, it's about 21 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I was a district manager at CVS, and I kind of stepped down into the floating thing because we had some kids and just wanted to kind of be around in pharmacy, and had a young lady walk in one day to a CVS and said, "Hey, you want to be our pharmacist?" I was like, "Well, no, I'll buy your store, but I don't want to be your staff." And it wasn't for sale until she went back and talked to Dad, and Dad's like, "Well, wait a minute, maybe it is for sale." So we bought into a couple of stores about 21 years ago, and then we added some startups that we had looked at, and just kind of over the years, we've been associated. I was doing the math last night. I think we've been associated with 20 different locations over the years. And, some of them we've divested, some of them we had to close, just didn't work out.
Right.
You can't hit a home run every time. And some of them we've had partners that we've sold to, and things of that have kind of gone on. But yeah, it's been fun. We've got 7 kids and 15 stores, and just kind of figuring things out. So that's kind of how it all got started. It was not there's no number. Everybody asks me, how many stores do you want? I don't know. If it works out, then and it's in our geographic footprint, and we can make it work out with the staff that we have, then we can work out. But that's kind of where it came about. But really, if you look at our footprint, 90+% of my stores are within an hour of my house in Swansea, South Carolina. So it's not like we're reaching way out. We do have, a couple that are 2 or 3 hours away, but the majority of the stores are pretty geographically close to us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that way you can be there if you need to be there, or go check on things if you're doing that. So one way to work with Kyle is be within an hour of Kyle.
Right. That's right. Yeah. If you're within an hour of Columbia, we're interested. So.
What was that kind of the initial thought process after CVS? You were like, we have a few folks with those similar stories. A lot of ownership stories start with, I worked at Walgreens or I worked at CVS and I wanted to do it a different way. What was that for you? What was the click to go like, okay, cool, I think I want to try this myself in entrepreneurship, or is it more I wanted to practice a certain way? What for you think what drove you into going, I think ownership's the path for me?
Well, the good thing about being a district manager is it did show you some financials that you just didn't understand in pharmacy school, right? Most pharmacists don't get any kind of business stuff, but it's really not hard. You manage your inventory, you manage your payroll, and everything else kind of works out. We're big fans of Marcus Lemonis, people, process, product. Mm-hmm. Pharmacy sells the same product. It doesn't matter. So all you got to do is have good processes and good people, and you win. So we've been blessed with that. We have really, really good people. But the main thing that kind of pushed me out of CVS was, I had kind of reached my peak with them. I did what a lot of district managers do and said, I'm done moving. And if you're done moving with CVS, you're done.
Oh, okay.
You don't progress anymore, and that's just how things work. And I completely understand they need the flexibility. But as we were kind of going through, I'm kind of dating myself here. So for people who are listening, they remember the no time bombs that John Roberts put out with CVS years ago with that workflow system. And I had several lower volume stores, and you need 4 or 5 people to run the process, and you had 2, and you just kind of scratch your head and you're thinking, what are these people doing? So I took all the good things that I learned from CVS and left all the bad stuff behind.
Okay.
And created an environment where pharmacists and technicians can succeed in their careers and be able to give care to the customers and not have to worry about that the printer's broken or the phone don't work or the internet, all the little things that just kind of bug up the works in a big corporation. And that's my job now is I make sure the phones work and the printers work and they have Pioneer, right? Mm-hmm. It's been a great partner for us for many years now. I can't remember exactly the number of years we've been with Pioneer, but it's been a while. We were one of the first stores in South Carolina.
Yeah. I want to say 12-ish or something like that. Around there.
That sounds about right.
Well,
so it just it worked out to where I got frustrated not being able to make change, and now all the changes are on me. If I mess it up, it's on me.
Yep.
If I do a good job, it's on me. Mm-hmm. And so it's we love to be empowered that way. And like I said, my wife Pam is just very instrumental. She does all the books and the money and all the stuff, and I do all the operation stuff. And then we get together and talk about it and make sure everything fits.
Got it. Symbiotic relationship there. I guess moving back into the pharmacies a little bit, when you've scaled from sounds like 1 or 2 to 15, what have you learned about people when it comes to that? I know it's a big part of what you're saying and like the equation when it comes to like fit with staff, the right fit from an acquisition perspective too, like kind of both of those things. There's, hey, who's the right fit from, organically over time. It's not like you've gone out and bought. One thing I want to level set with people, it's not like you went and bought out 12 other stores in the past like a year and a half. This has been a super like organic journey for you. What have you learned along the way, I guess, from a people in place with the acquisition, but also, hey, this is what I think wins, at least from your culture perspective?
So there's a couple of things. Several years ago, we embraced the Dave Ramsey thought process. We offer that to all of our employees. And, there's some things that he says that just make sense in business. And one of the things that we embraced was you can't put thoroughbreds and donkeys in the same field.
Okay.
Right. And so we seek after thoroughbreds, and I think we've got a great stable of thoroughbreds, but you got to get rid of the donkeys. If people start leaning and start having issues, that also led to our no drama policy. It's one of our core values. It's in our handbook. We can fire you for drama. We've done that in the past. You keep the drama out and you keep the donkeys out, and the thoroughbreds just run, and we don't really have to do much. I mean, honestly, we've been blessed. I don't have to worry about, is the store going to open? Are they going to fill the prescriptions? Are they going to be nice to the customers? I just have to worry about giving them the tools they need.
Okay.
And then growing the business. We've just got great people that run our stores day to day, and I just can't say enough about that. But it really comes down to the fact that we've tried to surround each employee with other good employees and have high expectations there. We're not the best, right? I mean, nobody's perfect at all of this. But I think that we run a really good ship with really good people, and it just works out.
Yeah. It sounds very much like how Nick, whether you like him or not, like being from South Carolina, I don't know, but like Nick Saban says some stuff very similar to that, where it's like, I think he says something to the effect of winners don't really like working with mediocre people, and mediocre people don't typically like winning with, like working with, I guess he says winners, but it could just be people who are super hardworking, whatever that is. Right. It sounds like you've kind of adopted a little bit of a like, hey, look, if we get the right people in place, I don't got to worry about in the morning, is the store opening on time?
Right. And, I won't quote Nick Saban, but I'll leave it on Dave Ramsey.
There we go. There we go. We do that too. I think we offer some Dave Ramsey tools to our entire company too. I think a lot of folks have adopted it. It's pretty cool. Okay, so from there inside, obviously pharmacy's changed a little bit in the last I'll just say 21 years or so since you've been starting doing it. What are you seeing now inside kind of the four walls you're doing to make sure from whether it's layering on services, clinical services. I noticed you guys do a little bit of everything at some of these pharmacies to a degree, whether it's, but it does seem like you have a little bit of a, I'll just say concerted effort in employers and vaccinations too. But like, what are you layering on, or what have you felt like you've had to change and pivot to over the last, period of this journey for you, inside the four walls to make sure, one, you're hitting viability numbers you need to hit, profitability numbers you need to hit, and those things like that?
So, we are, there's a lot of things in the marketplace right now, right? You got guys that say you got to have 60, 70% sync. And I think there's some guys out there at like 95 plus percent sync.
I've met people that are almost 100. Yep.
Right. We're 25% sync, right? Maybe 30. We don't force it on the customer. It's there if they want it. It's, and I understand and I got a store that's at 60, and I'm going to be honest with you, that store that's at 60% is probably the best running store that I have, and I would love to get the others there, but we just don't want to force it on the patients, right? We offer it, it's there. We have packaging, we offer it, it's there. I don't force it on the patient. We try to provide all the stuff in the marketplace. From a clinical standpoint, there's really some money to be made out there, regardless of what people think, with outcomes and Troy Medicare and some other items that we're associated with doing the MTMs. You just got to keep up with it, right? And we do dedicate some pharmacists' time to do that, which from a productivity and a cost perspective, maybe it's not there, but from a patient perspective, it's better for them to talk to a pharmacist about their CMRs and all that. So, and we don't dedicate a ton, but if we have extra pharmacists, we do that. We let them do those tasks so that we don't lose the pharmacy. We get them something to do and, get them some hours, and we're able to be productive. But I'm going to be honest with you. The thing that has really differentiated us over the years are manufacturer programs. Say more. We've got some deals with, right now it's AI2 with Zenas and Contempla. We're doing some stuff with PhilRx. We're doing some stuff with, we've done some stuff in the past with the Invega and, Vega and Sustenna, that type of thing. So we had that business for a while. We've divested of that now. But, it's just one of those, you've got to look for those opportunities that are not just coming in the door. Let me take what's coming, right? You got to go seek out some other stuff and kind of create these relationships with some manufacturers. And, we've done that over the years. We've probably been doing that for, 8 years now. It's just different. And they come and go, right? Because the brand name's there, and then it gets a generic and it's gone. And then the next one steps up, and you get your name out in that situation. And that's been very helpful for us. Right now we're looking at a bill in Congress that's hopefully going to pay us $25, NADAC plus 25. How many stores would that save in the country right now?
Gosh, almost all of them in some way.
That would be huge. Yeah. Right. And, so especially if you're getting paid 30 cents for lisinopril, you get paid 25, it just makes a difference right there. That will save pharmacy if something like that happens. But if we don't, then you've got to find those programs. They will pay you the 25 or 35 or whatever dollars for a script, and you just kind of churn it and go on from there. And the great thing about a lot of these manufacturer programs is you buy direct and you get 30 days, same as cash. You already paid before you pay it, so there's no AR outlay.
Right.
So from a cash flow perspective, it just makes absolute sense. So that's been something that's really driven our business probably for the last 8 years or more.
Yeah, that's something super unique too, because I think most generally, a lot of pharmacists or pharmacy owners would think, man, in the brand game, it's a huge cash flow issue for them at times, right? Because, if you're not buying direct, you're buying at, some type of net 15 arrangement with getting paid whatever you're getting paid, usually within 30-ish days, 30 to 45 days on the backside. So I think that's something a lot of folks either don't know exist probably. And it sounds like you've taken a lot of time to build those relationships and probably have a little bit of, I would just say, brand recognition with your group probably in South Carolina for, hey, look, if you're trying to, reach patients in this particular part of the country, and you're a brand manufacturer, you probably get some door knocks now, which is probably pretty good. But that's something that I think a lot of pharmacists or pharmacy owners probably overlook and may think, I don't have the scale for that.
Right. And and it's not just as simple as calling a manufacturer and turning on with it. You got to have process, right? You got to have how do you get the product, where's the script coming from and where's the product coming from and how do you keep up with it? And, a lot of this stuff is mail order, right? And we're having to mail it out. And then there's some questions on that. How do you make sure that you're doing the right thing there? But all of it's legal. It's just you have to scale it and you have to move it between stores so you don't get over percentages. I mean, there's a lot of stuff involved. It's not just turn it on and here we go.
Right.
And you gotta understand how it works, and you got to be able to follow it with the patient, have a great relationship with the shipper, all of those things, and just be able to track everything. So that's our team has done a wonderful job of that over the years, because a lot of things that we did in this process we learned the hard way, and we had to create a process or a policy, because we messed some up, right? And but yeah, we've got that process pretty well down now, and we can just plug it in any store that needs and expand that way.
Okay. Does something like that start with relationships with physicians or patients, or being recognized that, hey, you're a pharmacy that it seems like they can jump through the hurdles to get some of this done? Is like, how does kind of some of that, like, organic, I'm not saying you're out there knocking on doors with every manufacturer, but where'd the recognition come from to be like, wow, McHugh Pharmacy Group can help us with this?
So you get one, right? That's how it starts.
Yeah.
And just like anything else, you have one pharmacy and now you have 15. It's the same way with this. You just get one program to trust in your system and think you can do it. And we did that about 6 or 8 years ago. And that program was great for us and a lot of other people. And, many of my friends in pharmacy did really well through that program over the years. And then that just kind of led to, a lot of those salespeople. They end up at new companies.
They move around.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so they're like, hey, I remember this great relationship we had with Kyle over here. So let's, you guys are trying to do the same program. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's just send it to him. It'll be done. And we're all good. So that's how it started. We
Makes
just got
sense.
one.
Right. Yeah. And one, managing those relationships too, to a degree, right? Like you knew from the jump, it sounds like, hey, look, we can impress this one. Not only it might bring us another one, but this guy who's running this one or this rep locally for us, I don't know. They usually have 4-year jump cycles in some way in that space, right? That makes total sense.
And they all talk to each other, right? I mean, they know who the reps were with this. Who'd you use? Who did a good job? Because I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. Is these manufacturers they don't really, they don't care. They want to make sure they're with a partner who can get it done and get the stuff to the end of the row. And it is somewhat difficult to do that and to work it into your regular flow of customers. Right.
Yeah. Making it scale means making it not a whole separate huge business. You got to stand up for 10 scripts, right? It's
right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's making sure you can insert it to your current process. And it sounds like you've systematized in some way, whether at one store or 15, it just being part of the workflow and how they do things.
And yeah, and obviously Pioneer's a great partner with this, with the the facilities and the wings and all the stuff you can do that people use for nursing homes. We use for these programs to help identify the patients. We can go in and search when are they due for their refill. Let's call them. All of those outreach things that you need to do for a specialty business, which is really what this is are available inside of Pioneer. And we had to create some things internally and worked with you guys to add some data fields and some other stuff, but you did, right? And so you've been a great partner for us. For these things.
No, like, and you never know how folks are going to use something you release. Josh talks about that all the time. Like, you release a new feature. I don't know, facilities was a long time ago, let's be real. But like, you don't go, oh, people can run specialty out of this if you do it this way, and things like that. So it's just kind of our users are, I don't know, I feel like our users are teaching us all the time. Like, oh, all right. Yeah, you can do that. Okay. If you just need a field here and you're set or something like that in some way. And it's good to work with folks like that, that are creative and how they do that. What about, I guess, from that perspective? So you got manufacturer stuff. I wanted to touch on a little bit of the employer programs or some things you guys do with those. Can you expand a little bit on like some? I do feel like you've got some relationships with employers, and maybe that's scale. Maybe that's just at one pharmacy. I've seen one pharmacy have great relationships with employers too. So can you talk a little bit about that? What you see there? How you feel like independent pharmacy maybe is a little unique in the sense of whether it's vaccination clinics or another Y and Z.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that we can do, right? I mean, the rate limiting step to CVS and Walgreens is they can't do charge accounts.
Right.
Right.
Oh,
They can take every other payment in the
yeah,
world.
that's true.
I think they could probably take Zelle at this point, but
Some Venmo.
Yeah, they'll take whatever you can give them, but they can't do charge accounts. And there's a
that's
lot
a good
of especially in South Carolina, there's a lot of manufacturing plants or facilities that are family owned. Right. They're good sized businesses. And, they want to take care of their employees, but they don't know that they really want to have a pharmacy program in their benefit. So they just partner with us. We fill their scripts with a little bit of a markup, send them a account every month, and then they pay it. And it works out great. Or if it's a really labor intensive group, we've had those employers where instead of having workers' comp issues and things, they're self-insured on their workers' comp. And they send us over the patients, and we fill their ibuprofen and pain medicine when they get hurt at work and send them on their way and build a company. And, it just, for those companies that are out there wanting to be self-insured, the independent pharmacy is the place to be for them. Mm-hmm. And you don't need to have a PBM. You don't need to have a card. You don't need to have, they just need to call us and say, hey, fill Sally's stuff, or fax us a document and say, fill Susie's stuff. We're approving it. And it's just such an easier process for these places. And once they recognize that, it just makes their bookkeeping, their insurance premiums go down. Everything is easy when they do it that way. And there's some that don't realize it, and they pay the fees for all the stuff. But others that are looking at being self-insured, because insurance is probably their second biggest expense now besides payroll. I mean, it's crazy. So they're looking for alternatives.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it sounds like your message to other like pharmacists and owners is highlight how easy it is to work with you. Highlight, absolutely. Man, I can run AR all day, or whatever that is. Oh, what do you need? You need that kind of form. You're just going to you just need to fax this to us. I can take that. No problem. I'll just throw it in my queue and we'll work. So that's a really good message to be like, hey, look, not only can you do the things, but highlight how easy you can make it to do the things that they're trying to do.
And that's the thing that we focus on with all of our relationships that we have with employers or doctors or whoever. We're easy, right? Mm-hmm. What obstacles do you have? Mm-hmm. What are the pain points that you have? Let us solve your pain points. And we work through that process. And a lot of doctors are still, they're still nervous about Stark laws. Oh, I can't refer them to you. I'm going to get in so much trouble. And they have the issue. It's like, look, if we're offering a service that nobody else offers, you can send them to us. It's okay. Mm-hmm. It's not like you're, oh, well, I can't send them to you because that other pharmacy is offering the same service. Nobody's offering it. Mm-hmm. There's me and CVS in the town. CVS is not going to do it. I'm going to do it. So you're not breaking any rules. And getting them over that, I mean, they've just they're scared, right? They really are. But once you talk them through it, understand, that's fine. And it's, that leads into other things that we're doing, 340B, right? You'd be a contract pharmacy and you just do it, and it goes on and it works. And it's not like it's rocket science. There's several platforms out there that just make it easy to use a TPA. And yeah, you're not making 30%, but that's not what we're shooting for here. If I'm filling this drug as a regular patient, I'm lucky to get 3%, 4%. But if I'm at 340B and I get 15 or 20 or something, I mean, come on, it's a no-brainer. And the facility, they make a ton of money off these things. So everybody's kind of sad on 340B right now and saying it's going away, elimination. It's still viable in the workplace that we're in today.
Yep. No.
If it wasn't, CVS wouldn't be signing up every doctor in town.
100%. Like if you go look, I don't know if anybody knows those websites, but you can go look at the HRSA website and you can just see all the different contract pharmacies that exist in there. Both Walgreens and CVS are the biggest players in that space in general.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
There's money in there for everyone in that spot. Okay. What about I heard you talk about, hey, managing, making sure your pharmacies are profitable is a couple of things. I thought you said labor and inventory. I thought is what you said at the beginning. Mm-hmm. What is some of your thoughts on what a good labor profile looks like in a pharmacy?
See, that's the great thing about being an independent owner is, when I was with CVS, I was a district manager. It was, one tech hour for 11 scripts or, whatever. There was a formula, right?
Whatever the metric was, right? Yeah.
And it fit every store in the company, but it didn't fit, right? Because every store is different. You got some rural stores where the patients are very hands-on and they don't want to use IVR. They want to talk to people about everything. And then you've got city stores where nobody talks to anybody. Everything's electronic, and they come in and it's transactional.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't sit down and say, this is the number.
Okay.
Right? You just can't. If you do that, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You've got to understand the business of each store and recognize that each store is different. And, we shoot for numbers like everybody else, 9% or so on your P&L and that type of thing. But it really doesn't, it doesn't equate to what the need of the store is. You have to pay attention to what the store is doing and listen to the staff and be in the store and watch the store and just stand back and look in your store. Go into a store and stand there for an hour like a wallflower and don't say anything to anybody. Just watch them work and watch the patients come in and out and hear the phones ring.
Right.
And what about this brand? What is it doing to is this brand program killing their effectiveness? Do I need to pull it to another store? Do I need to give them another body? Do I need to separate it into a different section of the store so it doesn't interrupt workflow? You got to do those things. So there is no cookie cutter magic bullet number that you can just say, this is how you do it. But once again, you can't just throw a bunch of people at it.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard. So one of the things that we did, it's been very difficult with recruiting and retention. People decide I don't want to be a pharmacy anymore, or I'm doing pharmacy till I can be a nurse, or I want to go do something else. And, we're fighting against the Chick-fil-A's and the Starbucks of the world for employees. And you got to kind of look and have a program. So we implemented our tier program about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And it's just, if you can do these skills, here's the skill set. If you can pass the test and do these skills, this is how much money you're going to make. If you can't do it, this is how much money you're going to make. And there's a range in there that gives us some fluff to say, yeah, you can do the skills, but you ain't showing up for work all the time. You're calling out a lot, and you're having issues, right?
Yep.
Or you're not engaged in working all day long. So that's why there's a range there in each of those levels. And there's 3 levels of techs and a couple levels of clerks, and it's very straightforward. And we've got people who've been with us for a short period of time, and they're making as much money as people within there a long period of time. And that causes some friction, right? Because people feel like that, hey, I've been loyal to you for a long time. I was like, yeah, but look who I've got standing beside you now.
Yeah.
Right? I've got a person who can do what you can do, so you don't have to do everything. I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense, right? And so you got to talk through that process, and it is a little bit of a pain point. But once you get out there, then you're able to go out and talk to people and say, yeah, you can make this much money with me if you can do these things in a certain amount of time. And so it's a good recruiting tool, and it's a good retention tool. I mean, I say it's good retention. We have had some people leave because they said, look, I've been with you for
life
15
happens.
years.
Yeah.
And you're
100%.
paying this person the same as or more than you're paying me. And that's just not fair. And look, it's very, very, there's no subjectivity in here. You can either do it or you can't do it. And we all agree, we agree to disagree or whatever it turns out to be. And we recognize that people want to move on and do things. But all in all, it's been very good for morale and for employee engagement and just for the customer. Now I've got level 3 technicians in stores. A couple stores, I got 2 or 3 of them. And yeah, I'm paying more money for them, but I'm getting more.
But I bet you're just
done.
getting more out of it though, too,
right?
Like you probably don't need all the hours maybe at times, right? It's a net benefit probably to the store's, I guess, P&L from that perspective.
And it does, because it grows your business, right? We've taken over some stores in the past where, they've had the opposite philosophy. Let's have 12 $9 an hour people and work on the law of averages, right? Or, hey, let's have, 4 $20 an hour people, and I win.
Yeah.
From a financial standpoint and a service standpoint and everything.
Yeah. Throughput, service, expense ratios, probably all of it. That's super unique, because I'll say this, like, at least there's a path. When you get hired, sometimes you just want, like, especially when you're younger in your career, you're younger or even newer to just a new place, you kind of want to understand your path to, like, it's like, yeah, I'm going to train you to do these things this week or next week or whatever, but it's not just this. Like, here's, you've got a progression path. And I think that for a lot of times that helps with longevity. And I don't mean everybody's going to be a 20-year employee or something like that, but like you at least can get some should up your average from an average year's basis perspective by giving employees a path to some type of like one financial success and a feeling of like accomplishment too. I think I totally get what you're saying though. Like that sounds like a market-based approach with high-level people. Like, hey, look, this is the market rate for a really high-level pharmacy tech, and sorry, yeah, you've been here 10 years. This is the market rate for that, and somebody who's been here 2 is getting paid just about as much as you and standing on side, but they can do everything that you can do. So,
yeah, it's just fair, right?
Yeah.
We had to try to figure out how to make it fair for everybody, and we feel like it's fair. Not everybody feels like it's fair, but that happens, right?
Yep.
And the thing that surprised me is, when we bring somebody on, we have a tech trainer that goes around and shows them everything. We give them the answers to the test. Here's all the stuff. And I thought, man, we're going to have, $120 an hour employees. We're not going to be able to make payroll.
Yeah, what am I doing here?
but we've had a lot of people that said, I'm good at 16.
Yeah, this isn't for me, right?
Right. I'm good here. This is where I'm comfortable, and it works. And they're great employees, and they do a wonderful job. And so it's been refreshing to see how it all works out.
Right. Yeah. Now there's a book I was reading. I can't remember the book, but there's like a rock star and a superstar term. Like I think the term was, hey, look, your superstars are going to be the people that you give them a path to progress. They're going to tick every box off and they're going to progress. And then there's the rock stars that should also probably, I'm not saying get paid as much, but at least be celebrated as much to be like, I'm really good at this and I just want to keep doing this. And they're your rock, right? Like, it's like, cool. I just want to stay doing this, doing it. And so, and their contributions, are just as meaningful to the company itself. So, okay, cool. So that's a really good take on labor. I think that's the labor profile. I know I'm kind of making that sound not as too clinical, maybe, but from that. But okay, let's talk about you have 15 stores. It's a lot to coordinate from a buying perspective, inventory perspective, making sure you're having you're not getting bloat anywhere and things like that. Can you give us a little bit of your thoughts or approach or methodology that you use to inventory for, you did this at 2 stores and now you're up to 15, and maybe how it's changed?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can't do anything without technology, right? Yeah. I'm a pretty smart guy, but I'm not super smart, and I can't figure these things out all the time. And, Pioneer has an inventory setting and you can do the wizard and all that stuff. And we did that for years. We set the wizard and we ran it every month. We didn't let Pioneer do it automatic because you run into 90 days and other things and that type of thing. So we had a partner for a while, Data Rhythm. They did a good job. They kind of tracked everything. You can log in every day and see where your inventory's up, down, sideways, or whatever, and address the outliers. But we switched to a company that manages it, and it's a unique algorithm that they do. Is they look at it and say the trends on this drug over the last 90 days are you need this much on the 15th, and then you don't need any more till the 20th, and then we'll need some more on the 28th, and then we don't need it again till this. So the order points change every night based on historical usage of the product. So it keeps a very level. Oh my goodness, how level! I mean, if you were to look at our inventory level is flatline for the last 3 or 4 months. It doesn't spike up or down or sideways. It's just flatline.
Nice.
Even with all these manufacturer programs where you have to order a bunch and it goes out.
Yeah, I was going to say, even with the direct buying and things like that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it doesn't manage the direct buying. We manage that, right? Because a lot of times we kind of know what's coming in that. It's very, very regular on those things, because a lot of times with the manufacturer programs, the copay is $0 for the patient, so free is free. They're going to take it whether they want it or they don't want it.
Yep.
So those are pretty easy to manage, but the other stuff, it's just it's so stable in how it manages things, and then it's a program that identifies what's overstock, what needs to be sent to another store, what you need to look at. Here's some anomalies that maybe you want to look at. These controls are getting a little out of whack. You're ordering more than you did and you aren't dispensing as much. So let's look at that and see. So it helps with compliance and it helps with inventory, and it just helps with that global picture of that. You can't manage inventory without a program. You just can't run reports out of Pioneer every day, no matter how good Pioneer is, and try to guess and figure out and all of that. You've got to have a partner, a technology partner, in order to manage your inventory.
Got it. Cool. I guess from that, I kind of wanted to go a little broader. what you're seeing, like, as we're getting a little closer to time here. Broader, I know there's some bills being passed, or I wouldn't say passed. They're being teed up. I saw one just last week that some of the key folks were pushing out there. I think it's HR 9096 or whatever it is. That was put. But broadly, what are you looking at for the rest of the year for you this year? But then also, like, broadly, what do you see change coming, or where to pivot in general? Around pharmacy itself, independent pharmacy specifically?
Well, I've never been a politic guy, but, we can't just sit on the sidelines. You hear that from a lot of people. And there's people that I know that are friends with, they're just super involved in politics and all that stuff. And I'm just kind of more like I'm not on the bench, but I'm on the sideline as a cheerleader, right?
Okay.
I'm not in the game. I'm not on the bench. I'm kind of in between. But, I think if we look at it, you look at all the country and you look at all the bills and the things that different states are doing and all of this. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say that Tennessee has it figured out. Okay. That state has it figured out better than anybody else that I've seen. They aren't going way above and saying we need all of this stuff, but they have a very common sense, normalized dispensing fee. We all know we're going to NADAC. I mean, you're not.
Feels inevitable, right? Yeah. It feels inevitable from me. But yeah.
Even after the PBMs got up and testified in front of Congress, I think everybody looked around and said, "Why are the prices so different?" Right? So we're going to NADAC. We just need a fair dispensing fee, and Tennessee has done that in their legislation for commercial and Medicaid.
Yeah, and they did it for Medicaid too, right? Commercial and Medicaid. I think both. They were kind of the first ones to tick off everything they can tick off. Right. For the most part, now you need federal help to get the Part D side, but
if we get this, the bill passed that's going now for Part D side, I think that you're going to have that. Yeah, if the PBM doesn't go through, you're going to end up with a lot of pharmacies that don't take Part D, which is a huge part of their business. And to walk away from that's crazy to walk away from that much business. But if you do the math, it's crazy to keep it in some situations, right? Depending on the mix of the players that you have.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, you got to look at that every year. You look at the contracts and you see where we are, and we've got a great PSAO that looks all of that for us. And they don't take the bad contracts, and we kind of move forward, and we kind of dwindle down. But I'm seeing a swing with the payers, especially this year.
Okay,
everybody's hurting this year because you got the DIR fees, and if you're running cash accounting, you look like you're jumping off the cliff.
Oh yeah, right? You're going to want to.
I have no profitability, but just give it a minute, right? Yeah. Take a breath. The DR fees have gone out. What you're going to see from now to the end of the year, just look at where your DR fees for the first 6 months. Take a breath and realize that money's going to be in your pocket for the last 6 months.
Right.
And just breathe. It'll be okay. And then you'll know where your numbers are. And once you get your mind around that, if we get in a situation to where we get this legislation passed, man, you're not going to have an independent pharmacy closing every day. You're going to have some that, well, maybe we can open back up. Mm-hmm. One of the things that you're also seeing, a lot of independents are talking about closing on Saturdays.
Yeah.
We're seeing that. Saving payroll. You don't have enough to do it.
Yep. How do you make a Saturday profitable in some way? Yeah. I've heard. I've had conversations with, like, I'm trying to figure out my Saturday. I'm trying to figure out how do I keep this going?
Right. And and I've talked to some guys who've done it, and they have not seen a blip in their business. Other people have done it, and some other independents to stay open, they suck that business up, just for the convenience. Even though they might not use them on Saturday ever, they like the fact to know that they're there. So it's a tough call. But I'm seeing a lot more independents going to, why are we here on Saturdays?
I think you're I think you're right about that. And as you see, I do think we're seeing a little more, like, I don't know if consolidation's the word, because everyone thinks that's a bad word sometimes, but like the one store owner, there's a little more 2-store and 3-store owners to me out there than there was, when I was doing this 15 to 20 years ago, when I had all my hair. When I had it all, most of it anyway. I've never really had it all, but and some of them tried to solve the Saturday equation that way. Well, it's like, okay, I will be open at one of them, not all of them. And so that's the way I've seen some of it start to kind of be solved. But not everybody's a multi-store owner. I'm not saying you have to be. I'm just saying a lot of people figured out with one store how to do it. But yeah, I'm with you there. I feel like I've had those conversations as well. and folks trying to do that. Do you see that too? Speaking of like more 2 and 3 and 4 store owners, are you seeing that as well? I mean, speaking from someone who's gone from 1 or 2 stores to 15, but I do feel like it starting to see a little bit of some of the pharmacists are looking at this DRR stuff going, I think we're going to get out of this. I'm going to try to find somebody. If they can find somebody inside their pharmacy to sell it to, it seems like that's always first case where I'm seeing. But I'm starting to see a little bit of just changeover in ownership, and sometimes some of that's already maybe a little bit younger because some folks have aged out because every population of owners are going to age out eventually in some way every year. But starting to see a little more of that because they're probably not getting quite the prices from CVS or Walgreens historically that they did.
Yeah, CVS and Walgreens have pretty much stopped acquisitions right now. Yeah. I mean, Walgreens is looking at closing 25% of their stores. CVS is looking to see where do we fit in that, and what can we close too? Because their stocks already got hit by the fact that they're going to close stores, right? So why not do it? But I think the thing that we run into and why you have multiple store owners is it's just economy of scale is part of it. You can't buy it cheap enough as a one store owner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not offending or not trying to offend any one store owner, but it's really difficult if you're filling 100, 150 scripts a day. It's hard to get a good cost of goods from a wholesaler right now, or a buying group, or anybody that can sustain the brand price contraction that we've all seen. So whenever you have more stores and you're able to kind of conglomerate that buying power, then you run into a situation where, okay, I think I can get through this right now. But I think everybody in the marketplace, including me, we're all just getting by right now is where we are. Nobody's, buying a beach house or a Lamborghini or any of that stuff. Independent pharmacies just getting by right now. And we're all there for the communities that we serve. And we want to make sure they have health care. And so it's one of those things where you kind of sit around, if I had 15 convenience stores, right, and I sold gas and candy bars and all of that stuff, I'd be way more well off than I am with owning 15 pharmacies, right? Because in pharmacy, all your money goes back into your store. If it doesn't, you're not going to survive. You got to keep feeding the beast, whether it's inventory or payroll or acquisitions or whatever it is, or updating your real estate. You got to stay fresh in your inside and making sure you're in the right place. I mean, it's such a cash thirsty business that most business people would look at what we do and say, why?
Yeah. Why? Never mind, I'm buying the convenience store.
Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, you get it. But I'm in a situation at 15 stores. I can't go out and just divest and walk away. Right. And that's not what we want to do. We want to be around pharmacy. Pharmacy's been good to me and my family. We love the communities that we're in. We love the employees that we have, like they're our own kids. I mean, it's great family atmosphere. And we're very big into family. And we want to make sure that these stores stay around a long time. And that's what we're doing is we're providing them with everything that they need, and we'll get a return sometime.
Yeah.
Somewhere down.
I was going to ask you a little bit because you almost just answered it. I'll see if you want to give a further answer. But I was going to ask you. I know if people asked you when you stop in, is 15 enough? Are you trying to hit a number? And you go, no. I think it sounds like it's bigger than that for you. It's more like, what is it to you that keeps you going with this 15 stores? Whether you're going to grow it or not going to grow it, it sounds like you're more about like, hey, look, we know our communities need this, but. Do you want to? I was going to ask you what is it? Is it a number? Is it a culture? You're just trying to be like, hey, look, this is what I'm trying to get to, and no one's ever satisfied, probably. But just wanted to see if you wanted to further.
Yeah, it's not about us. It's not about a number. It's not about a salary. It's not about $1 million. It's not about any of that. It's about saving independent pharmacy.
Okay.
That's where we are. That's what our goal is. That's what our passion is. We feel that independent pharmacy and pharmacy in general, not just independent pharmacy, is an important piece. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday that said, we think the retail pharmacies are going away. Mail order is going to take care of everything. We are primary care for a large majority of our rural communities that don't have doctors. They don't have an urgent care. They got to drive 30 minutes to go and see somebody, or they can come in to us and say, hey, what's this on my skin? Is it okay? Or do I need to see somebody about that? I mean, it's just, I don't want to say free healthcare, but really it is, right? And we provide that. And to be able to put us in a position to be able to continue to provide that is what our goal is. It has nothing to do with, oh, well, if I acquire that store, that's going to add, $250,000 to my pocket every year.
Yeah, this is an EBITDA story.
Not.
No, it's not. Right.
So anybody who thinks it is, it's not. It is absolutely just about the people, the process, and the product. And the product is independent pharmacy. And that's what we're about. So if it's 15 stores, if it's 50 stores, if it's 8 stores, right? I can't tell you what the number is, but we're structured to be a board-led company to go on beyond me and Pam.
Oh, that's cool.
McHugh Pharmacy Group's going to be here for a while. We are not interested in, selling off to the highest bidder or building the company up so that we can go off and retire somewhere. We have way more than we need. Pharmacy's been great to us. My baby's 13 years old. I got 4 out of the house, 3 still in the house.
Okay.
And once we get through those, what are we going to do with our time, right?
Yeah.
So we feel like that we can help. And that's why we are acquiring stores and why we're growing is because we look at these stores and nobody is bidding for them.
Yeah.
CVS doesn't want it. Walgreens doesn't want it. Walmart has never been in the conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And, for the prices that are out there and the things that are going on, there's some pretty healthy stores out there that are sitting and nobody is doing anything for it. So we go in with what we feel is a fair deal for them and for us that we can make work. And if they like it, great. If they don't, it's okay too. I'm not offended. But we try to give people an out who are just overwhelmed with either debt or the process or the people or the whatever they're overwhelmed with. And sometimes it works out great for us. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But the great thing about having 15 stores is you're going to have 5 that are super every year. You're going to have 4 or 5 that are crappy every year. And you're going to have 5 that are making it every year.
Yeah.
Right. And they're not going to be the same 5. They're going to switch places all the time. So you can kind of spread that. That's another reason why you have multi-store owners is, you payer mix changes on a regular basis. So
yeah. You're kind of there for all of it.
Right.
A little bit. Well, that's cool. Well said. Man, it's a good soundbite.
Good.
Yeah. Now, the last thing, I guess, before I let you go, we always do prescribables. That's what we call it. It's really just, Kyle, what are you reading, watching, listening to, or into right now? You think pharmacy owners would care about?
So, I think right now I'm reading a book called Trust. It's a book about, I'm a big historical guy, and it's a book about financiers that started in the 1800s and they passed it on to their kids and they ran through the Great Depression and things like that. So I'm interested in how do you maintain, how do you sustain this to go on beyond just me and Pam selling it to some person somewhere.
Sure.
Right. And so we're looking at, I read books on that. I read books on, how does JP Morgan do and how did the Rockefellers do and how did, the trash, all these people that did these things. And it's not always successful. A lot of them left the money to their kids and the kids spent it all. Right. But, just how does that structure work and how does that dynamic work? So I don't know. I guess that's where my brain is right now. I'm about 2 years away from operationally retiring, just going to a chairman of the board type thing. And so I'm trying to figure out how do we pass it on? How do we progress? So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And, I think that it's possible. And we've got a great team in place right now that I think can do it. Nobody can take my wife's place, though. She does about 5 jobs that are above my pay grade. So
got it.
She'll be working much longer than me, but I really think that that's where I'm at. That's what I'm reading.
Cool. So. I'll give everyone one. I'm reading Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. Good book. Same guy who kind of like coined the term of OKRs, like objectives and key results. I think he worked with Google or whoever, not for them, but like as their consultant. It's a good book. We'll put both those books in the show notes for this, as well as what I'd tell everybody is HR 9096. We'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. I think everybody should read that. I'm still reading it, but we'll
I think
add
we
that.
need to put the Tennessee stuff in there too.
Oh yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, we put that legislation in there so some of these other states can walk into their legislators that know people and say, this is how you do it.
Yeah, so those who are politically active, you'll have good source material to work from here as well. So, well, Kyle, thank you for everything you and your pharmacy's doing. Appreciate your time today. And, man, we'll see you out there.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. See you.